Julian left in a blur of motion. The front door clicked shut, sealing the silence inside. I stood there, paralyzed. My eyes locked onto the wedding portrait on the wall. I couldn't process it. Why? The question wasn't just a thought, it was a physical weight pressing against my temples. Why would Julian cheat, and the girl? Who was she? Her face. The bank transfers. The captions. The images flickered in my brain like a malfunctioning slideshow, then, it stopped. The static cleared. I scrambled for my phone, my fingers fumbling with the screen. I recognized this girl. It was 6 months ago. The police station. I was there to bail him out. Assault. Physically, he was fine. Just a shallow, angry scrape across his cheekbone, but his energy was terrifying. His eyes were dark, dilated, swimming with a raw hostility I hadn't seen since he was a rebellious teenager. He hadn't just fought the guy. He had dismantled him. The guy was already screaming about apologies and compensation. Julian just sneered. If I hadn't physically anchored my weight against his arm, he would have lunged across the desk to finish the job. We finally dealt with the paperwork. I dragged him toward the exit. A girl in a cheap, ill-fitting uniform ran up to us. She was breathless, trembling. "Sir," she stammered, looking at Julian like he was a savior. "If you hadn't stepped in, I don't know what would have happened." "Thank you." "Really?" I froze, looking at my husband. He didn't look like a hero. He looked bored. "Get a different job," he snapped. The girl flinched, her face crumpling. If I had any other choice, I wouldn't be here." Julian's expression darkened. He cut her off, his voice sharp enough to draw blood. "Not my problem. Do whatever you want." Quinn had driven me there that night. As Julian stormed toward the car, leaving the girl standing on the sidewalk, Quinn grabbed my elbow. "Claire," she lowered her voice. "Did you see that?" "See what?" "That girl. She looks like a budget version of you. A cheap knockoff. Maybe, 30%? I laughed it off. I told her she was imagining things. But I couldn't help it. I glanced back as we drove away. Now, the memory sharpened. It overlaid perfectly with the selfie on my screen. It was her. Julian didn't come home that night. He returned the next evening. He walked in carrying a takeout container from my favorite spicy hot pot place. "The line was insane," he said, sounding exhausted but devoted. "I stood there for 40 minutes because I know you've been craving it." "You eat. I need to wash off the grime." "Okay." Julian went into the bathroom. The water started running. I didn't open the food. I grabbed the spare car key and walked straight out the front door, down to the underground garage. The car had been detailed. It was immaculate. Not a speck of dust. I opened the passenger door. The seat position was reset exactly to my settings. On the surface, it was perfect, but I wasn't there for the surface. I was there for the digital footprint. I pulled the memory card from the dashcam. I scrolled back 24 hours. The screen flickered to life. Julian was driving toward the university on the south side of the city. He made a call. Speakerphone. "Come down." 2 minutes later, a figure bounced into the frame. She hopped into the passenger seat. Then, the audio spiked. Wet, sloppy sounds. The friction of fabric. Heavy breathing. "Did you sleep with that old hag?" Kenzie's voice was high, teasing, cruel. "Shut up." "Did you?" Julian's voice dropped an octave. Husky. Drenched in lust. "What do you think?" Kenzie giggled. "Good. You're all mine." "Keep talking like that," Julian growled, "and don't expect any mercy later." The engine roared. The speedometer climbed. The car tore down the street, mirroring the urgency of the man behind the wheel. They stopped at an apartment complex near the campus. The recording cut. The next clip was stamped 10 a.m. the following morning. Julian was alone in the car. I watched the screen in the silent garage. It was a visceral freeze response. My muscles contracted so hard they began to ache, locking my body into absolute rigidity. I raised a hand to kill the feed, to stop the visual assault. But the audio continued. A ringtone. Brody. Julian's best friend. "Where are you?" "You're late." "On my way." "TSK late?" "That's not your style," Brody laughed. "Let me guess. You went to see your little Peachy again?" "Yeah." Brody paused. His tone shifted, slightly more serious. "Dude, you're seeing her way too often. Are you actually serious about this?" Julian chuckled. A light, dismissive sound. "What's serious? What's not? Don't play dumb. I thought you were just blowing off steam." But this is turning into a long-term thing. You used to be obsessed with Claire. Like, worship the ground she walks on obsessed. Why the sudden change? The question hung in the air inside the car. And it hung in the air on the recording. Silence. Then, Julian spoke. Claire is 33. So? I don't know, Julian said, his voice casual, indifferent. Once she passed 30, she just started to feel. I don't know. Dirty.